Why hello YouTube, it's your boy Shines Love, and we're coming back to you with another video about C0 arc, more specifically Lavawalker Ayaka. So here's some footage of me when I'm trying to see some good test subjects for her. But as you can see, the Zhangling and Bennett and Kazuha already do a little too much damage, so we try to look for someone who's a little more tankier and can survive, you know, this onslaught of pyro damage before Ayaka can come in to melt on it. So here are the stats of the Kazuha I'm working with, all EM, including the Feather and Plume. As you can see, Lion's Roar Ayaka, artifacts, Lavawalker 4P set, C0, 888 talents. Zhangling, C6, Noblesse. And yeah, Bennett, we got him on the just Crimson 2-piece, and Aquila for the base attack. I'm gonna level up the Pyronado just so she does as much damage as possible. Why does she need to do so much damage in the Ayaka showcase? Well, hey, you know, people are gonna say, oh, it's a Bennett, Kazuha, and Zhangling showcase more than it is an Ayaka showcase. So, hey, I'm gonna build up a Zhangling as much as I can, and we'll see who's out damaging who, right? Make it as unbiased as possible. So, as you can see, here the pyro application wasn't so good because I surprisingly swirled cryo with Kazuha. But here I'm gonna make sure I'm infused with pyro before I ult with Kazuha, and then you're gonna see boom. All right, pyro, and now. In these conditions, you can kind of, if you look for yourself, there's so much pyro application that Ayaka's freeze can, oh, never mind, that was a scuffed run. Well, alright, we're gonna try to finish this off and heal her a little bit. Yeah, so, in the meantime, well, I guess this is a nice little showcase just to show people, like, okay, it's not gonna be perfect, you know, to run her because you're trying to make sure they're always inflected with pyro. So yeah, I just wanted to leave this in here so you can kind of see how realistic runs look like. You can at least use this time to get energy for the next run if it's an abyss or things like that, or if it's just domain runs. But here's a little more less scuffed run. See again, making sure that I infused Pyro, Zhangling Pyronado, and Golba, and then I ult. So you can see I'm melting on everything, and he's still keeping that Pyro status, and it's done in one rotation, and all my energy's back for all my characters. So I can just continue on up. And if I keep these same tight rotations, I should be able to keep my energy up. If not, I can just move some artifacts around to at least compensate for the lack. But, you know, these are just some of the rotations just to kind of see, like, the damage of it. And one thing I will say, which is going to be true for both Cryo and Lavawalker Ayaka, is that you do have to worry about positioning a lot. Their ult is not like the Luke's, because I feel like it's way better than the Luke's, but at the very least, you do want to make sure to position it. And you saw right there 32k on the melt, so that's pretty nice. Pretty delicious damage. So these are the artifacts that she's rocking right now. And we'll probably change it around to kind of show some different weapons. Alright, horrible crit rate. How do we fix that? Hey, we just slap up a crit weapon and yeah, boom, look at those rates. Alright, so we're going to try Lavawalker Ayaka with Jade Cutter. If you're lucky enough to get it, or unlucky and you didn't get the Jade Cutter, or the Jade Spear, then I guess you can run this build, and let's see the damage comparison. See some of those nasty numbers. Oh, well, I missed, but even then, you could still see the melts were pretty nasty. And even if they're, you know, even when she's not melting, the stats are so good that at the very least, she's going to be doing some considerable damage outside of melt. Alright. and this is C0 Kazuha. So if you have C2 Kazuha, then she would have 200 EM, and it would be even 200 more EM, and she would be melting for even higher. So, but this is C0 Kazuha and C0 Ayaka. You can see these melts. You can see 22Ks in there and 12Ks in there as well. So, boom, everything's done. I did lose a few. I wasn't able to get my ult back with Kazuha, so I'm trying to see if I can get an ER timepiece. Yeah, so let's see if that helps out with rotations. But definitely, I feel like this is one of her best team comps if you're going to run it. I got this idea after seeing her trial with Xiangling. I said, yeah, maybe with these guys, we can have enough cryo application. And 32K again, 12, you see 12. Look at all those. You see 12Ks and 21K melts in there. I'm not sure if I think the 21Ks are the melt and the 12Ks aren't. I would have to math it out, which I would love to ask you guys. So which is more interesting? Do you guys like seeing like weapon comparisons like this, or do you want to have some spreadsheet see some different math of each weapon and with these same rotations, which one's better and things like that? So I want to be more flexible, whichever one's more interesting. But I did, and to add some context, I did about like an hour of runs of all these different things, over an hour, like 2 hours worth of Lavawalker, Ayaka, and played her for much longer. But I want to see, which things people like. Do people like spreadsheets and gameplay, spreadsheets only, gameplay only, things like that. So, but for now, I'm gonna just show some gameplay, add some of my scuffed runs and some of my good runs, where I'm doing damage like this and finishing the runs extremely quickly. And then I go through as many options as I have up, like the BP if you're a low spender, or the Black Cliff if you got it out of the Star Glitter shop, or Lion's Roar if you got it from the gacha, and things like that. So I did contemplate using the Millennial Movement weapons for her, like the one that was meant for Kazuha, but I just thought, it's better if you have it. It's better suited on him than her. So, look at that, 30K mount on skill, so really nice. But yeah, and also Iron Sting on her. But again, since Kazuha's in this team comp, he's the one wearing it. But yeah. And my decision with Favonius Lance for Xiangling is because both of them require 80 costs for their burst, which means they need a lot of energy for it. So I just thought, like, if you're not running Skyward Spine on your Xiangling, this is probably even a better weapon, because at least you're able to funnel a lot of particles to Ayaka, and vice versa, or you just absorb them with Xiangling and have all their ults up and things like that. But as you can see, we have all our ults back up, and that's with the R1 80 out of 90. What is that? The Black Sword. There we go. Black Sword on Ayaka. So with Benny, the cool part is if you have a high base attack weapon, and you'll be able to transfer all that ATK, his base ATK to Ayaka. So the weapon, unless it's 3-star, probably even with 3-star, to be honest. I was contemplating testing with Harbinger of Dawn, but as you can see, mine's a 60-1. So kind of was like, all right, no. Not unless people want to, then I can get it up to 90 and then test that more. But with Bennett, he makes a lot of the weapons, shine a lot more because he gives so much attack. So, but yeah, we're just testing out different options, seeing which one's the best. Which one's the best, which one's the most preferable, which one's most consistent. Yeah. Personally, for me, as long as you get the rotations correct and make sure that you are in Bennett's ult when you're using Ayaka's burst, since it's snapshots, it's gonna usually do a lot of damage. which is one thing I do prefer about Lavawalker Ayaka is that, as you can see, she, you know, in double pyro comps, she's still able to work well. And as long as you get the positioning right and make sure that they're constantly afflicted with pyro, so you kind of need some type of an animal like Kazuha or Sucrose. I did test Venti with her, but one thing I noticed was you do need to, like, the enemies need to be, you know, they have to be able to be picked up with Venti, and if they are, then it's usually pretty nice because you're melting, like you're not really having to worry about positioning as much like as you would in these comps. But the thing I like about these comps is that you don't have to really be like, oh, is the enemy pick upable? Like, are they able to be sucked up by Venti's burst? If they're not, I have to kind of fight around it anyway, so I still have to do positioning anyway. So, yeah, I think I like these because they stay on the ground, and even if they're bigger bosses, as you saw in the crowd domain, you can still be able to consistently melt with Ayaka as long as you have somebody, you know, that's gonna apply the pyro, then an animal character to spread it and do some CC and constantly you know, spread the pyro element. And the thing is that's really good with Xiangling, and why I would have her over, say, Yanfei in this scenario and Bennett, is because I can infuse pyro onto Kazuha and make sure that pyro is the thing that's going to be swirled in his ult, and then Xiangling for extra assurance that pyro element is affected. In my next video, I'm kind of planning to use the Mist-Splitter on Ayaka for the Cryo build, because I feel like that build will kind of suit the weapon better. Because as you can see, you know, you can't really auto too much unless the runs are scuffed. So you still have the swirl of the animal character. You can probably still auto and have melts. Will they be consistent? Not as much. Ooh, and 52k right there. But you know, at least even when she's not melting, she's still doing pretty nice damage. As long as your ratios are good, which you want them to be. And then, as you saw, the nice part with Sucrose is that you can swap out of, like, if there's no more pyro elements, you can swap out to her, gather them up with her skill, and also shred the resonance if you have 4 VV on her to make the ult be hit as hard as possible. Because since it's snapshotted, that's the only way you're going to make it stronger, is by shredding their resistances to the ult. So you can see we weren't able to catch him because obviously C2 is way better, but we can either just shred with Sucrose and use our Cryo, or we can, you know, throw over like a pyro element and then melt on it and finish it with the 36k. So personally, to me, and after running Lavawalker Ayaka in Abyss and clearing it with her, I personally feel like it's a really decent build. If you have Lavawalker pieces, really good ones, from all your time spent, you know, farming up for your pyro DPS, because I know most people had to, especially because there's so many pyro characters being released and constantly being released. Shoutouts to Yumiya next. But yeah, so it's definitely a viable build, especially if you really don't want to go to the crowd domain and you have a Lion's Roar that you were using on your Genshin that you don't want to play anymore. I think it's pretty nice to me. And she, like, a lot of people say, oh, you can't because of her dash, and it's like, yeah, but even if you were to mistakenly dash onto the enemy with pyro, which I believe I have a clip of here, she applies lighter cryo, so it's not like she's gonna wipe the pyro element completely. You can still melt on it, so it's still fine, it still works. And yeah, you won't really be autoing with her, but I feel like personally, even with the cryo build, she's not autoing too much. She's just gonna be, you know, autoing to, like, if you have the Mist-Splitter, to proc its passive. That's pretty much it, or to finish off the enemy. Most of the DPS is gonna come from the ult anyway, so melting on it just like you would melt on a Chung Yun burst seems pretty nice. But yeah, guys, that's all for the video. You can see the artifacts I was running on the team, the weapons I was using, and yeah, that's Lavawalker Ayaka.